When I first started dabbling into carnivore, I ran into a wall multiple times. I was sourcing my meat from places like Whole Foods or other health food grocery stores, and I found that there was such inconsistency in what I was purchasing. It made me feel really unstable, and ultimately it made it very difficult for me to stick with the carnivore diet. So in this video, I'm gonna explain to you some of the top factors that really convinced me to source locally. If you know my story, you know that I tried carnivore 8 times before I found a way to make it stick. I had severe histamine intolerance, I had a binge eating disorder, I had severe digestive issues. Once I got it to stick, I took off with it. I healed over 10 autoimmune diseases. It was one of the most important pieces to my healing journey. If you're in the same boat where you know that carnivore is what you need to do, or you know you need to go low carb, but you keep making the wrong decisions, you're not alone. What you need is support, guidance, and community. You need to take yourself out of isolation and give yourself the resources to stay motivated and make the right choices. Understanding and wisdom provides empowerment. It will help you to be excited to make the right choices. Once you get the ball rolling, you'll be able to stick with it. Make it easier on yourself heading into this new year to make the right decisions. Join us for the 90-day challenge in the Steak and Butter Gang. This provides resources like carnivore doctors, carnivore recipes, and access to me as well. I'm so honored to be a part of this so that you can finally do what you actually want to do and break those old habits and create new habits. We can't wait to see you there. Number 1 is the big picture, okay? There are big companies that are providing the meat that you get at the grocery store. Just a couple of big companies that own the meat industry, and they're giving you poorly processed meat at a very high price. Prices are at an all-time high in history, period. Things like tariffs, trade politics, import-export restrictions, all of these things you have no control over, so they could literally just cut off your food source. If that's ever happened to you, you understand. Maybe you really like to get the lamb from New Zealand that you get from the grocery store, and then one day it's just not there. You have no control over it. That's not a really secure and safe plan to move forward, especially if you plan on making this way of eating sustainable and a lifestyle change. Reason number 2 is processing alone. So labels can be very, very misleading. Did you know that chicken, if it is not air chilled, and it has to say that on the label, if it's not air chilled, it's literally bleached. It's literally bleached. You are eating bleached chicken, even if it's organic, even if you paid top dollar for it, they're bleaching it. And that's just one of literally hundreds of labeling things that you have to look out for. You have to be very, very smart and know how to shop for your meat without running into some of these things. And this goes for all types of meat that you find in the grocery store, because they cut corners to make the process very cheap, very efficient, to give you a product that is not reliable. Another example, meat glue. If you've never heard of meat glue, it's transglutamase. It's literally like a glue-like product where they take meat pieces, scraps, and they glue them together with this substance, and they can literally sell it to you as a whole cut of meat. You could be paying for a whole filet mignon high price when it's really meat glue. They do not have to tell you that on the labeling. Why would you even risk that? That is happening in our country. It makes me very upset to even learn these things. So those are just a couple examples of labeling misconceptions, or even just deception, straight up deception. You're not getting what you think you're getting. And we know this occurs with other foods other than meat. Cereal, oatmeal, whatever you buy at the grocery store, we know their tactics. We know that they are cutting corners and being very deceptive because they're out to get your money. They're not out to give you a high quality product. The third reason that really impacted me the most is histamine. So histamine intolerance is something I've talked about in many videos, and most meat is aged. They age it because it makes it more tender, more flavorful. It's something that can enhance the flavor, but it enhances and increases histamine like crazy. So if you have histamine intolerance, buying meat from the grocery store, it's probably not going to cut it. You could get away with frozen wild-caught salmon. You could get away with some types of chicken, but you're not going to do well with red meat. Even the lamb is significantly aged at the grocery store. Now, it's a smaller animal, so it will likely be less histamine than beef, but it's still being aged, and this increases histamine like crazy. So if you have histamine intolerance, I highly recommend you lock in and find some local resources. There are so many different websites where you can just find local farmers, local butchers, people who can sell you a whole cow or a whole lamb and process it for you. You're gonna save money by buying in bulk. And the most important thing is that you're gonna know how your food was handled. You're gonna know how that animal was raised. So my family, we have wonderful neighbors with about 1,000 cows. We've bought 3 steers from them, 3 full steers. We have 6 chest freezers full of fresh meat. I get to even call the butcher who's processing the steer and let them know how I want it processed. I can let them know if I want flanken style ribs or how many pounds do I want my ground beef. I get to choose everything. And the price that we pay is far less. It's a fraction of what we would pay at the grocery store for the same amount of meat. And it's high quality. We know these cows live a happy and healthy life. We have a personal relationship with these people. You have access to this. You just need to look. So there's a website called eatwild.com. You can plug in your zip code. It will help you to connect with local resources, or just ask around. Go to a farmer's market. You can get local meat there. Word of mouth is really powerful. So I highly recommend finding local beef, lamb, ruminant animals. If you can hunt, that's a wonderful way to get your meat. But the reality is, meat is being taken away from us. High quality meat is hard to come by. Grocery stores are not to be trusted. Think about that long and hard before you spend your money at the grocery store on meat. It would make so much more sense to invest in high quality meat and support farmers who are doing it right.